He was just the quiet bus driver kids made fun of until a viral video revealed the hero they never knew was behind the wheel. Every weekday morning, the yellow school bus rumbled down Maple Avenue, stopping at each corner to pick up sleepy kids with backpacks and messy hair. Behind the wheel sat Mr. Harris, a man of few words, always in a faded blue jacket, with a gentle nod for every student who climbed aboard. To the kids, Mr. Harris was a mystery. He never raised his voice, never told stories, and never seemed to mind the teasing or the jokes about his ancient bus or his old man music. Some called him the ghost, others just ignored him. The bravest kids sometimes made faces or whispered behind his back, convinced he didn't notice. But Mr. Harris noticed everything. He watched the roads, the kids, the changing seasons. He remembered which students needed a little extra time in the morning and which ones were having a rough week. He kept a first aid kit under his seat, just in case. No one ever asked why. One rainy afternoon, as the bus made its way home, a screech of tires and a shattering crash echoed from the intersection ahead. A minivan had spun out, flipped, and landed in a ditch, smoke pouring from the hood. A family trapped inside. Without hesitation, Mr. Harris pulled the bus to the side, told the kids to stay put, and sprinted toward the wreck. A student in the front seat grabbed her phone and started recording. What happened next stunned everyone. Mr. Harris moved with calm precision, prying open a jammed door, checking pulses, reassuring the frightened parents, and carrying a young child to safety. He called out instructions to bystanders, directing them like a seasoned professional. Within minutes, he'd stabilized the injured and kept the family calm until paramedics arrived. The student's video, shaky but clear, captured every moment. That evening, she posted it online with the caption, "Our bus driver is a real-life hero." The clip spread like wildfire, shared by parents, teachers, and soon, news stations across the state. The next morning, the kids greeted Mr. Harris with wide eyes and stunned silence. For the first time, they saw him not as the boring bus guy, but as the man who'd risked his life for strangers. Reporters soon uncovered the rest of the story. Mr. Harris had been a decorated EMT for over 20 years. He'd saved dozens of lives before retiring and taking the bus job for something quieter. He'd never mentioned his past. He didn't think it mattered. But now, the town saw him in a new light. Students apologized for their jokes. Parents sent thank you notes. The school held an assembly in his honor, and the rescued family visited to thank him in person. Mr. Harris, humble as ever, just smiled. "I was just doing what anyone would do," he said, but everyone knew better. The viral video changed everything overnight. By the following week, Mr. Harris's quiet world was upended. The principal called him into the office, not to reprimand him, but to thank him. "You've shown these kids what true courage looks like," she said, shaking his hand. "I hope you know how much you mean to this community." Mr. Harris just nodded, a little embarrassed by all the attention. He'd never liked the spotlight. He'd taken the bus job after retiring from the city's emergency services, hoping for a quieter life. He liked the routine, their early mornings, the familiar faces, the peaceful drive-through, Maple Avenue's tree-lined streets. But now, everywhere he went, people stopped him to say thank you. Neighbors brought casseroles and pies. The local newspaper ran a front-page story, "Our bus driver, our hero." Even the mayor called to offer congratulations and a formal commendation at the next town meeting. The kids, meanwhile, saw him in a new light. The teasing stopped. Instead, they started greeting him with shy smiles and questions about his past. "Were you really an EMT, Mr. Harris? How many people did you save? Weren't you scared?" He answered honestly, but never bragged. "I just did what I was trained to do," he'd say, "and yes, I was scared sometimes. But you learn to trust your training and your team." One afternoon, as the bus rolled to a stop, a boy named Ethan lingered behind. He'd always been the class clown, the ringleader of the jokes. Now, he looked nervous. "Mr. Harris," Ethan said, voice small, "I'm sorry for making fun of you. I didn't know." Mr. Harris smiled, putting a gentle hand on Ethan's shoulder. "It's okay. We all have stories, Ethan. Sometimes it just takes a moment to see them." That moment marked the start of something new, not just for Ethan, but for all the kids. On the bus. As the weeks passed, Mr. Harris became more than just the bus driver. He became a mentor, a confidant, and, for some, a quiet hero to look up to. The school counselor, Ms. Rivera, invited him to speak at a school assembly. At first, Mr. Harris hesitated. Public speaking wasn't his thing, but Ms. Rivera insisted. "Just tell them what you told Ethan. Let them see the real you." On the day of the assembly, the gym was packed. Students, teachers, and parents filled the bleachers. The principal introduced Mr. Harris, and the room erupted in applause. He stood at the podium, hands trembling slightly, and looked out at the sea of young faces. "I'm not used to all this attention," he began, his voice steady but humble. "Most of my life, I worked behind the scenes. As an EMT, my job was to help people on their worst days. I saw a lot of pain, but also a lot of hope, I learned that you never know what someone's going through or what they're capable of until the moment comes. He paused, searching for the right words. I became a bus driver because I wanted a quieter life. But I never stopped caring about people. And I never forgot that every day, we have a chance to make a difference even in the smallest ways. He finished with a simple message. Be kind. You never know who's sitting next to you or what they've done for someone else. The applause was thunderous. Afterward, students lined up to thank him, some with tears in their eyes. Teachers shook his hand. Parents hugged him. That day, the school started a new tradition, Hero Day, where students and staff could nominate everyday heroes in their lives, people who made a difference without seeking recognition. Mr. Harris was the first to be honored. The impact of Mr. Harris's story rippled through the community. Kids who'd once been bullies started looking out for younger students. The bus became a place of laughter and friendship, not teasing and exclusion. Ethan, the former class clown, became Mr. Harris's unofficial assistant. He helped younger kids with their seatbelts, picked up trash, and even started a good deeds journal, where students could write about acts of kindness they witnessed on the bus. One day, as they waited for the last student to board, Ethan asked, Mr. Harris, do you ever miss being an EMT? Mr. Harris thought for a moment. Sometimes, I miss the team, the feeling of making a difference. But I've learned that you don't have to wear a uniform to help people. You can do it right here, every day. Inspired by his words, Ethan decided to become a volunteer at the local firehouse. Other students followed suit, joining community service clubs and helping out at town events. The viral video continued to circulate, drawing attention from nearby towns. Other schools invited Mr. Harris to speak. News outlets ran follow-up stories about the hero bus driver and the positive changes in Maple Avenue's school community. One spring afternoon, a letter arrived for Mr. Harris. It was from a woman named Linda, whose family he'd rescued in the crash. She wrote, Dear Mr. Harris, I don't know how to thank you. You saved our lives, but you also changed the way my children see the world. They talk about you every day. You showed them what real bravery looks like and what it means to care for others. We hope you'll join us for dinner sometime. We'd love to hear your stories and share ours. Mr. Harris accepted the invitation, and that evening became one of the most meaningful of his life. Linda's children asked endless questions about his EMT days, and he listened to their dreams of becoming doctors, firefighters, and teachers. As he left, Linda pressed his hand. You're part of our family now, Mr. Harris. Thank you, from the bottom of our hearts. Years passed, but the story of Mr. Harris never faded. The students he'd driven to school grew up, many inspired to serve their communities in big and small ways. Some became EMTs, nurses, or teachers. Others simply carried his lessons of kindness and courage into their everyday lives. Every year, on the anniversary of the rescue, the school held a Mr. Harris Day. Kids wore blue jackets, decorated the bus with thank you notes, and shared stories of people who'd made a difference in their lives. Mr. Harris, now retired, would visit the school, always greeted by a chorus of cheers and hugs. He'd sit in the front row, smiling as students shared their own stories of bravery and compassion. And every time a new student asked, who was Mr. Harris? The answer was always the same. He was just the quiet bus driver until the day the world saw the hero behind the wheel. As spring blossomed into summer, the story of Mr. Harris continued to ripple through Maple Avenue and far beyond. The school bus was no longer just a yellow vehicle rumbling through town. It was a symbol of hope and quiet courage. The children, who once mocked the silent driver, now looked up to him, eager to hear his stories and learn from his example. But for Mr. Harris, the attention brought memories, some joyful, some painful. One evening, as he sat on his porch, he pulled out a weathered box from his closet. Inside were old EMT patches, faded commendation letters, and a stack of photographs. He ran his fingers over a picture of his old rescue team, remembering the adrenaline, the camaraderie, and the lives they'd saved and, sometimes, lost. His neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, noticed him sitting alone and came over with 2 mugs of tea. You've got the whole town talking, you know, she said with a smile. But you look like you've got the weight of the world on your shoulders. Mr. Harris nodded. I never wanted to be a hero. I just wanted to help people. Sometimes I wonder if I did enough. Mrs. Jenkins squeezed his hand. You did more than enough, and you're still doing it. These kids, this town, they're better because of you. He smiled, grateful for her kindness. That night, he wrote a letter to his old EMT partner, Tom, who had moved away years ago. He told Tom about the rescue, the viral video, and how the job he'd taken for peace and quiet had turned into something much bigger. A week later, Tom called. You always had a way of making a difference, Harris. Don't ever doubt it. Maybe it's time you shared more of your story. Let them know what it means to serve even when no one's looking. Inspired by Tom's words, Mr. Harris agreed to join Ms. Rivera's new life lessons program at the school. Each month, a guest speaker would talk about their experiences and the values that guided them. On the day of his talk, Mr. Harris brought his old EMT jacket and a battered first aid kit. The students listened in rapt attention as he described the challenges of emergency calls, the importance of teamwork, and the power of staying calm under pressure. He told them about a night when his team responded to a house fire. "We were scared," he admitted, "but we trusted each other. That's what got us through. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is ask for help." He showed them how to use a tourniquet, how to check a pulse, and how to comfort someone. In shock, the students practiced on each other, laughing and learning, but also understanding the seriousness of what he taught. Afterward, a shy girl named Olivia approached him. "My mom gets panic attacks. Sometimes I don't know what to do. Can you teach me how to help her?" Mr. Harris knelt down to her level. "Of course, the most important thing is to stay with her, talk softly, and remind her she's not alone. You're braver than you think, Olivia." Word of his lessons spread. Soon, parents were asking for workshops, and the local fire department invited Mr. Harris to help train new recruits. He found himself busier than ever, but for the first time in years, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. The culture on the school bus changed dramatically. The Good Deeds Journal Ethan started became a cherished tradition. Kids wrote about helping each other with homework, picking up litter, or simply offering a kind word to someone who looked sad. One day, a new student named Jordan boarded the bus. He was quiet, nervous, and sat alone at the back. The other kids remembered what Mr. Harris had taught them. Instead of ignoring him, they took turns sitting with him, asking about his favorite games and sharing snacks. By the end of the week, Jordan was laughing with the others, his fears forgotten. Mr. Harris watched with quiet pride. He knew that the true measure of his legacy wasn't in medals or news stories, but in the small acts of kindness that multiplied. Every day, the school's principal, Ms. Carter, noticed a change. At a staff meeting, she said, "We talk about anti-bullying programs and character education. But what's happening on Mr. Harris's bus is the real thing. It's peer leadership, empathy, and community in action." The story of Mr. Harris reached the state capitol. He was invited to a ceremony honoring everyday heroes. Standing on stage, he looked out at the crowd. Students' parents, firefighters, EMTs, and bus drivers from across the region. He spoke simply. "You don't have to be the loudest or the fastest to make a difference. Sometimes, being there, showing up, listening, caring is what matters most. I'm grateful for the chance to serve my community, and I hope you'll all look for ways to serve yours." The applause was overwhelming. Afterward, he was approached by a young paramedic who said, "You inspired me to join EMS. Thank you for showing me that quiet courage is still courage." The school bus itself became a symbol. The PTA raised funds to repaint it, adding a mural of children helping each other, with the words, "Kindness rides with us." Local news covered the unveiling, and the mayor declared the first Friday of every May Mr. Harris Day. Years later, Mr. Harris retired for good. On his last day, the entire school lined the sidewalk, cheering as the bus pulled up. Ethan, now a high school senior, handed him a scrapbook filled with letters from students, parents, and teachers. "Thank you for being our hero," Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. Mr. Harris smiled, tears in his eyes. "You're all heroes too. Never forget that." He drove the bus one last time, waving to the town that had become his family. As he parked it for the final time, he looked back at the empty seats and felt a deep sense of peace. He knew he had made a difference not just in a single rescue, but in the lives of everyone who had ever ridden his bus. Long after Mr. Harris' retirement, his legacy endured. The Good Deeds Journal continued, passed down from class to class. The annual Mr. Harris Day became a celebration of community service, with students volunteering at shelters, planting trees, and helping neighbors. Ethan became a firefighter, inspired by the man who had shown him what true bravery looked like. Olivia started a mental health club at her high school, teaching others how to support friends in crisis. Jordan, once the nervous new kid, became student body president, always remembering the kindness he'd received. And every time a new bus driver started on Maple Avenue, the kids would tell them about Mr. Harris, the quiet man who taught them that heroism isn't about glory, but about caring, showing up, and making a difference, one day at a time. Years passed, and the legend of Mr. Harris became part of Maple Avenue's identity. The town grew, new families moved in, and children who had once ridden Mr. Harris's bus now sent their own kids off on that same yellow route each morning. The bus itself, lovingly maintained, still bore the mural of children helping each other. "Kindness rides with us," and the Good Deeds Journal was now a cherished artifact, kept in the school library for everyone to read. Every spring, the school celebrated Mr. Harris Day. It was more than just a tribute, it was a living tradition. Students and teachers spent the day volunteering in the community, cleaning parks, visiting nursing homes, and writing thank you notes to local first responders. The day always ended with a gathering on the school lawn, where stories about Mr. Harris were shared, some funny, some moving, all a testament to the way one person's quiet kindness could ripple through generations. Ethan, now a firefighter and a father himself, returned each year to speak to the students. He'd stand before the crowd, holding the old good deeds journal, and say, "Mr. Harris taught us that you don't have to be loud to be brave. Sometimes, the bravest thing is to show up for someone else, even if no one notices." Olivia, who had started the mental health club, became a counselor, helping kids find their voice and their courage. She often told them about the day Mr. Harris knelt down and listened to her fears. "He made me believe I could help others, just by being there," she'd say. Jordan, who had once been the nervous new kid, became a teacher at Maple Avenue Elementary. On his first day, he rode the bus with his students, sitting in the very seat where he'd once felt so alone. As the bus rolled down the familiar streets, he told the children about Mr. Harris, the man who had taught him that kindness could change a life. The town's annual Everyday Heroes ceremony grew larger. Each year, new names were added to the list, but Mr. Harris's story was always the first one told. His photograph, smiling and humble in his blue jacket, hung in the school hallway, a reminder that greatness often wears the simplest disguise. One crisp, autumn morning, a new bus driver named Mrs. Kim started her first route. She was nervous, eager to make a good impression. As she pulled up to the first stop, a group of children climbed aboard, chatting and laughing. One little girl, noticing Mrs. Kim's anxious smile, handed her a folded note. "Welcome to our bus." The note read, "This is a special place. If you ever need help, just ask. We learned that from Mr. Harris." Mrs. Kim felt her nerves melt away as she drove. She noticed the mural, the journal, and the way the children looked out for each other. At the school, the principal greeted her warmly. "You're part of a tradition here," she said. "It started with a quiet man who believed in kindness above all else." That afternoon, Mrs. Kim sat with the children and listened to their stories. She realized that she wasn't just driving a bus, she was carrying forward a legacy. She promised herself that she would honor it every day. In his later years, Mr. Harris enjoyed peaceful days in his small house, tending to his garden and visiting with neighbors. He was often invited to speak at schools and community events, but he preferred simple conversations over tea, on a park bench, or during a walk through town. One afternoon, as he sat on his porch, a young reporter from the local paper came by for an interview. She asked, "Mr. Harris, what do you hope people remember about you?" He thought for a moment, then smiled. "I hope they remember that everyone has a story, that kindness matters, and that you don't need a uniform or a medal to be a hero, you just need to care." The reporter nodded, jotting down his words. "Anything else?" Mr. Harris looked out at the street, where a school bus was passing by, children waving from the windows. "Yes," he said softly. "Tell them to look out for each other. That's how you build a good life. That's how you build a good town." After Mr. Harris passed away, the whole town gathered to celebrate his life. The school gym overflowed, with people, former students, parents, teachers, firefighters, EMTs, and bus drivers from all over the region. They shared stories, laughter, and tears, each one a thread in the tapestry of Mr. Harris's legacy. Ethan, Olivia, and Jordan spoke, each sharing how Mr. Harris had changed their lives. The mayor announced that the main street would be renamed Harris Way, and a new scholarship fund was created in his honor, awarded to students who demonstrated kindness and service to others. As the ceremony ended, the crowd walked together to the old school bus, now a permanent memorial in the town square. Children placed flowers on the steps, and families took photos by the mural. The Good Deeds Journal, now filled with decades of stories, was placed in a glass case for all to see. And so, the story of Mr. Harris, the quiet bus driver who became a hero, lived on. In every act of kindness, in every helping hand, in every child who looked out for a friend, his legacy continued to grow, because in Maple Avenue, they knew the truth. Sometimes, the greatest heroes are the ones who simply show up, day after day, and make the world a little better, one ride, one smile, one good deed at a time.